thank you for inviting me, and I'm very sorry not to be speaking in French. I haven't spoken French really since I was at school, which was a very long time ago, and so I'm very slow. I wanted to talk to you today about how we do product development at the place where I work, which is called Unruly. My job there is to work as a coach. So I will tell you a little bit about the company, but really the main focus is how we work and the idea that maybe you may be able to do something similar yourselves. So,
we don't hear you in the back.
Do you think this is
Yes, but I think you have to put it quite close to your mouth.
really close here?
Yes.
Oh. Did you hear anything?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. All right. So I won't start from completely the beginning. So I've been coaching software developers now for 10 years, which it seems a very long time, but I was actually developing software for longer than that before. This is some pictures of the place where I work. It's an open environment. We have whiteboards, we have computers, there's a lot of stuff on the wall. And also I've written a book about agile coaching, which is lately been translated into French. So it's available. There's a picture of it there. So I'm not going to talk so much about my job. I'm talking really about how our group has ended up working. This guy is, he's my boss, and he is the Chief Technology Officer for the company. And he's younger than me, and I worked with him many years ago in an XP company called Connextra, which was one of the first companies in London using XP. And he founded the company with two other people, Scott and Sarah, and they have all only ever used XP. So they haven't used Scrum, they haven't used Kanban, they haven't used traditional methods, they only have used XP. So they always have a strong XP mindset. And this makes it very easy to work the way that we do. So I mentioned XP. This is extreme programming. And extreme programming, well, this is the first book about extreme programming. Extreme Programming Explained by Kent Beck. And I think this is a quote from the book. It's for small to medium-sized teams developing software in the face of vague or rapidly changing requirements. So this is exactly the situation we work in. So we work in social media advertising, which means that it's all around making videos visible to people, and the whole industry is changing at the moment to be one of exchanges, and all sorts of new ideas are coming. So it makes it very difficult to just make a product and then leave it there. We have to keep moving. So one of the things that we try to do is to be delivering new changes and keeping up with the market all the time. So when we release features, it's every day. So we're not waiting until the end of a sprint, we're not waiting till the end of a month or the end of a year, we're releasing every day. And then that gives us a puzzle, because where do we get all the ideas from to make the releases that we're going to make every day? It's actually difficult. And most software developers, they have some idea that somebody else will write the requirements. That there's there's some person who knows the answer, and you just have to tell me, you write it down, and then I just build what you told me to build. And this means that you can build things that don't make sense, you can build things that don't make money, and you can spend a long time building something that does not have any value. So the big topic really of this talk is to challenge where do requirements come from and to try to get the developers to understand that they play a part in this. So there is this balance between business and technology, and it's not something that the business people can do on their own. It's not something the technology guys can do on their own. It has to be people working together, because if you are trying to work out how to slice the stories, how to work out which is the right thing, the most valuable small thing we can build today, then you have to understand what it's possible to build in a day, and also what might be valuable to build in a day. So we try to look for a way of working where we have business and developers, and the business people can explain what the market needs, what they might want, and the developers can explain what are the possible options and what are their ideas and what are the things that they could make. And somewhere in there is a small bit of value, and we try to find small pieces of value that we can deliver every day. So notice, so far I have not talked about programming, and I am talking about extreme programming. Extreme programming is an approach to software development that includes really working very closely with business people. So 2 years ago I joined this company, and they had a department called product and they had a department called development. But the manager of the product department left. He got another job. And this was a really good opportunity to restructure things. So I was asked, will you manage these product managers while we try and think about what to do? So I managed the product managers. But what happened very soon afterwards was, because I sat with the developers, the product managers came to sit with the developers. And then soon we were able to merge the product and the development to be one department. And then we started to ask the developers to talk directly. So not to ask a product manager to talk to somebody else and to write something down and then to implement it. We asked the developers to make sure that only the developers would write stories. Nobody else writes stories, developers write stories. So you know about user stories? Can you put your, who knows about user stories? Okay. So the key part about a user story is that somebody talks to you. It is a story from a person in the business, but it is not something that is like a document that they give you. It's actually something that you should write on index cards, and the developer has to be involved in that conversation. So this is a picture of how we're organised now. That we have 3 teams. They're called marmalade, Tabasco and chutney. Doesn't matter what they're called. They have developers in them. They're quite small teams. So 3, 4, 5 developers. 5 developers max. We have 2 product managers left who figured out other things to do. And we have some specialists. So I'm a specialist, a coach. And then also we have a user experience guy and an infrastructure guy. We don't have any testers. This is not because we don't think testing is a good idea. It's actually because the developers do everything. And they have to, when they deliver the code, when it's live, and they go home and they go to sleep, if the code is not working, it will wake them up. So they need to make sure it works. So they make sure they test it. So it is a a situation where we have developers and they do everything, including making the code live, including testing, including talking to all the business.
So,
Yes.
you don't need any project manager?
We have never had any project managers.
Okay.
I didn't put them on, but yeah, that's because we've never had any. We don't have projects.
Okay, so who is doing the scheduling, the tracking of the project? The
The
developers?
developers. Well, we don't schedule or track in that way. So imagine a world where you just had developers who talked to business people and made features and deliver them every day. If you're going to deliver things every day, you don't need to make a big schedule. In some business, maybe. But in our business, it's so dynamic, we don't know what people will want in July or August or September. We know that currently we have to build this and that. When we build those things, then we will look ahead and think what else. We are looking to the future, and I will talk about how we do that in a minute. But you have to imagine, it's just these guys. Well, there's more of them than this, but these developers, they have to go to talk to people who are not developers. They don't always enjoy it, but they do it, and then they discuss it. So they're having a discussion here about stories, and mostly they're trying to figure out what is it that we should build. And they're not really worrying too much about how long will it take. They just know what is the smallest thing we can build, and after we've delivered that, then what is the next, and the next, and the next. So it's a different way of working. We have a lot of people in our business. So our business is not just developers. We have people in San Francisco, in Chicago, in New York, in London, in Paris, in Stockholm, in Oslo, Hamburg, and also now Singapore. So we have a whole bunch of people that we might need to talk to. And we used video conference, we used Hangout, Google Hangouts for talking to people. So we try to see the other person, to see their face when we talk to them. This is a board in the development area which the developers created because they wanted to remember the faces of the people who they're talking to. Because if you get an email from somebody in Chicago called Courtney, you don't know what kind of a person they are, and it's harder to speak to them unless you actually meet them and talk to them. So we try to do that. For a long time, the company was doing something which was called Lone Ranger. So when we write the code, we do pair programming. All code is written in pairs. But that means sometimes we have one person left over because we're an odd number of people. What do we do with this guy that's left over? Well, we can send him to go and sit with the business people. And then we discover this is quite important and we should do this with more people. So this is Benji. He doesn't always wear this hat. This is just to indicate he is a Lone Ranger today, so people can see that he is the person to talk to. And he's sitting with a finance team. And the finance team have problems with our reporting. And the reporting is not working and the numbers are not balancing and they need to talk to him. So he sits with them. And he gets to hear their conversations and he starts to build the right thing to fix their problem. From this approach, we then decided not only to have a Lone Ranger, but we would actually have a developer owner for each area of research of the product that we are working on. So this is a snapshot from we use a tool called Trello. Has anybody used Trello? So you can put backgrounds in, pretty pictures. So this is a picture we have behind the product strands board. And it indicates who is the lead developer doing the research into the area of the product. So we have Vicky, Jahed, Tim, Clive, and they're looking into different areas of the product. They are researching. They have also a product contact. So this is a person who can tell them, who should you talk to in the business? Who do you need to speak to? What clients do you need to go and speak to? So these people pair up. Again, they are just the people I showed you before. They're not special people, they're developers. And then we discuss the stories. So people research on their own. Then they come up with proposals for stories. So this is the developers write the stories. Then they discuss them with their team. Normally, we do not have a big estimation session every few weeks. We just, after lunch, we have story time. And if there's something to discuss, we discuss it just in our area. These are two separate teams. This guy, he's one of the remaining product managers left. And he comes to talk to us. And actually, mostly he comes to interrupt us and disrupt things. And he's a very good influence. But he doesn't go and write things down for people. That's not.
In those discussions, there's no one from marketing?
There's no one from marketing. But the people have been to talk to marketing.
Okay.
So the one developer who is researching, they have been and they talk to everybody they need to talk to, and then they say, hey, this is what we need to build, and they discuss it in terms of how we will implement it with their team.
Okay, so here's more sharing what he's discovered.
Yes, he's sharing discoveries, but and also thinking about how could we implement this. Then we do have a planning session. It's more a prioritization session, and the way that we do it is we have this lady here. She's our other product manager, and she's in New York. And then we have our stakeholders. So we have CTO, and we have the head of marketing, and we have a bunch of people assemble to make the priorities. But the way that we do the priorities, and we don't promise we're going to deliver anything. We actually say, okay, this seems to be the most valuable things today. If tomorrow you should want a different thing, we will just change it. So we plan, and then we can change it anytime we like. So this is just making sure that we are aligned. This is what we take with us into the planning. So each team, and we have two teams in that meeting, our planning meeting or prioritization meeting with two teams takes 30 minutes. And the reason it takes 30 minutes or less is because we go to the meeting with a proposal. So here's what our proposal. We think in the next 3 weeks we will work on these things. And if you would like, we could work on these things instead. So we go with primary list, we could do these, and then if not, we could do those. And sometimes there's some shuffling of the cards, but that's fine. That's what we're trying to understand, is what would it be important to build. And so this is the chutney team. This is what they propose. This is the marmalade team. This is what they propose. And we have a list of things we've discussed and put an estimate on that we could do if it was thought to be more important. So this might not be important, we might take this out, and then we might put something else in during the meeting. What do we mean estimate? What do you think estimates mean?
I have my idea, I want to...
Okay, all right. So, we say, we estimate in ideal pair days. So I know this is an old-fashioned way of estimating. So if we had one pair of developers who could work on the story for a day, then it would be 1 point. And you can see actually the numbers are quite low. One of the reasons for this is that we spend a lot of our time doing research. So most of our time is not spent writing code for features, it's trying to work out what the next most important thing is. And so this means our velocity, in a classic sense, is really low.
Yeah. Let's say you plan something, you said, okay, it will take about a day, and after half a day you realize it will really take weeks and you have to split it up and you run into something unknown.
That happens less often.
I'm sure.
So the question is, what happens if we start something and it starts to turn into a really big thing? So number one, we would probably tell everybody and make sure they understood. But it doesn't happen very often because we actually do technical research and implementation on trying out the ideas before we even take it to a planning. So it's very, very rare for anything to be like that because we've already spent a lot of time doing technical investigation and thinking of whether it is feasible. I want to watch the time because I know we have maybe 5 minutes left, so I need to hold the question to the end. I think we're near the end, anyway. So this is a backlog. It's got too many things in it. There's always a lot of things floating around. There's always a lot of ideas, and people are changing the way it's designed. And all I'm showing you this picture is to show you there are many more ideas being researched and thought about than we actually plan and agree to do. And there are different people's faces on here. These are the developers who are doing the research into those things. And these are in different columns. And those columns are owned by a developer. So we have somebody, remember the board I showed you before with the people on it? So this guy, he's the main coordinator for that topic. And then this guy is the main coordinator for that topic. And they will, they try to make sure they have all of the latest ideas in. And they quite often are in many different states. And you will find that often newer ideas are near the top. But that means they aren't really fully thought through. So the vague but possibly valuable things are at the top. And the things we thought about and decided were less valuable are near the bottom. And eventually we get rid of them. We also try to involve user experience. So for most of our product is business to business. So it's not to the man on the street that uses our product. We are making products for web publishers, for advertising agencies, for brands. And so for that reason, it's very hard to do the user testing because there are people who don't have a lot of time and they're not freely available. So we have interesting ways that we try to do this, but it is an important thing about how we work. These pictures are all around the development area, so we remember who the users are. And we also remember this. This is an important thing. You can't read here, but it says, you are not your user. So the thing is, it's very easy to think, if I was using this product, I would want this. But you don't know their world, so you need to understand what they really want by going to their world, to seeing how they work. So we try to encourage developers to actually go to the other companies. So we also, in our work, we try to make it very visible what's in progress, what's not in progress. So here are all the personas at the top, and we have the stories. We usually only have 1 or 2 stories actually in progress at any time. And we have other kinds of work, like technical priorities. We do research into different infrastructure ideas. There's a bunch of other things that are going on. And one essential thing about how we work is that every developer gets 1 day per week to research into whatever they want. So this is free. You can look into anything you like on your gold card day. And everybody can take a gold card day every week. So the reason why you have this guy wearing a Viking helmet is because this is our speaking token, and at the end of the week we talk about what people did. It's very important for us to do this, to get the new ideas about what technology we could be using and moving our platform forward, as well as moving our business-facing features forward. So here we are at work. A very important part of our work is pair programming. But what I see, because I'm sitting in this area, is a lot of people are not only pair programming, they're working in 3 people, triple programming. So this happens a lot. And the team like the way they work, and they bring fun into the way they work. You can see how this is their board with their work, and it's colourful and well designed. And they do, these are our estimating devices. You asked about the estimating. We have these little cute things that you can draw on, and people like them. So, and we also have a lot of social stuff together, and so I think this is a very important part of working in teams, is to play together and to get to know each other very well. So, I know this is a very short introduction to how we work, but thank you. And now, any questions? I think maybe we have 2 or 3 minutes for questions. Yes? Yes?
I won't say the last one. You said you have a lot of different users, customers, or whatever. How does this cloud decide which user is the priority now?
We have to work that out. So how do we decide which is the priority? We go to talk to people and we decide.
But there are different people need. You said you have different profiles of users, different users.
Yes.
So you have one user who says, I want this now, this is what's important for me. You have another one totally different who says, that is what's important for me.
Yeah, so this is the essence of what I'm trying to say, is we do not, it's not like somebody makes a request and I build it. We make a proposal of what we will build. So yes, we may have a lot of people come and say, I would like this, I would like this, I would like this. We propose what we will build. There isn't a prioritization of their requests. Their requests are not even written down. They're not, it's we write, this is what we think is the next important thing to build.
And so this way, don't you have some users who feel neglected?
We do have some users who will feel neglected, yes. And in fact, the users that are most neglected are the ones that work inside our company, because we can't make money from them. So this is the way it is of life. I think, I'm looking at the organisers. How long do I have for questions? Maybe 2 minutes?
I think we'll take another 2 questions.
2 questions, okay.
Shorter questions.
Shorter questions. We can talk afterwards, too.
On your dashboard, it was written stories in progress.
Yes.
I don't know if we call it sprint, or I don't know the name you give it, but it was not only stories, actually, it was a mix of stories and technical tasks, isn't it?
Yeah, in one team, they like to break a story down into technical tasks. The other 2 teams don't do that. Yes, it was a mix. But it's the team who put the things on the board that will be useful to them. We can also talk.
Richard?
Yes.
Would you describe your hiring process?
Oh, would I describe the hiring process? Well, we have a phone interview and we ask people questions to check that they know what they're talking about. We have a pairing interview where people come and they will pair with us. And we have a whiteboarding session where we give them a problem and they have to draw out an answer of what they think it should be. And we had a cultural... So which is done by a non-technical person, so somebody outside our team.
Can I propose a small thing? I think
Yeah.
there's a lot of can
no.
we make the session outside
Sorry, Dom.
after this? Everyone interested in this coming.
Oh, okay. The proposal is, I think, to propose something for the open space. Yes.
Well, the open space was yesterday, so unless we have a time
Yeah, yeah.
back machine, but maybe during the break or during lunchtime.
Yeah.
Antoine.
Yeah. Hi, Rachel. In XP, we value a lot feedback loops. I was wondering what kind of feedback do your developers have about the success of the user stories they have implemented?
Well, so one is that the revenue generated can be an important indicator that there is a value to the story. So knowing the value. Also, we do get rid of features when we feel that they're not valuable anymore, and we put measures within a product. So we do try to get feedback during its use.
Okay, but concretely, how do they know about revenue, about a feature not being used?
Because it's transparent to people in the company how we're making money, and people can see, oh yes, this thing that I built for this deal, it's now being used, and I'm getting lots of questions about setting up more things, or because the developers are exposed entirely to supporting as well as delivering, they are in the loop.
Okay, I think we'll stop with that. Thank you very much, Rachel.